Yep. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session. We have been talking a lot about Python programming, a lot about the various topics, various concepts rather. Let me do a quick recap of the kind of modules that we have discussed. As you all know, this is 20-hour session and we are at the fag end of the training. We will be discussing today a few things which are pending from pandas library perspective. And if we can complete the remaining topics today, we shall do that. If it's going to get spilled over to next week, sorry, not next week, tomorrow, then we would certainly extend that and complete the remaining topics. We would not be in a hurry. Doesn't matter, we can extend always by an hour or so. So let me do a quick recap, friends. We have started talking about the history of Python programming. What are the various features available within Python program? Let me refresh this because our team was saying that, hey, we got it rectified. Sure, they did. Otherwise, it was coming up like a rectangle, a vertical rectangle. Now it's a horizontal rectangle thing. You get to read a lot of stuff pertaining to Python programming and its various features. Then we discussed about the variables in Python. What are a few very important things that you need to bear in mind? Then we discussed about the type of operators in which we have bunch of operators. When it comes to arithmetic operators, we've also given you some additional information. Okay, we will add more meat onto that. Let me right away do that. Just give me a moment while I get this immediately fixed for you guys. So I'll just take a snap of that. All right, and I'm getting it fixed real time for you all. And trust me, friends, we will be adding more and more meat to these mind maps. And you'll be understanding. Okay, you'll be understanding a lot of interesting stuff about Python programming. Just give me one moment, sorry. Okay, let me remove the pen. All right, I think now everything would be hunky-dory. Let's talk. Okay, so we have spoken about a lot of things, a lot of operators like arithmetic operators, etc. We would be continuously ensuring that we add more meat here. We will be doing that. We'll be adding more meat here. And we would also be giving more examples. So eventually what will happen is this mind map will become a one-stop solution for everyone. Okay, we discussed about relational comparison operators, assignment operators. We spoke about logical identity, membership, bitwise, etc. We spoke about the various data types within Python: numerical, non-numerical, sequential. What do you mean by Boolean? We spoke about all of these. Then we switched towards conditional statements, in which we discussed about if statements, if else, if statements, nested if statements. We spoke about finite as well as infinite loops. Like for loop is finite loop, infinite loop is while loop. We spoke about what does this break and pass functions do? What is the operations of those? How do we handle errors? and what are the various functions? How can you make use of inbuilt functions? And how do you make use of custom functions? Then we went on to talk about the various libraries. And in the due course, we are talking about a specific library called as pandas. And that is where we are at this point in time. Not sure if, and then we discussed until this manipulate, applying manipulate function. Now, let me just print DFF1. In the previous session, we created a data frame called as DFF1. If it doesn't run, then we need to go back to the place where DFF was defined and we need to run that. So let me go here. Yeah. All right. Okay. So we defined DFF in this way. If you remember, we first imported the required libraries. We already spoke about what is a library, right? Library contains code which someone else has written in the past. And what are we doing? We are trying to reuse those. And we have done this. Import pandas as PD, then import numpy as NP. Okay, then we created these two items, right? X1 and X2. This is a list of 5 numbers. This is also a list of 5 numbers. Then we created a range of 5 numbers, converted that into a list and assigned it to a variable X3. Then we created data frame using pandas library, and we created these 3 columns. For someone who's listening to this session, and if this is your first session, trust me, you will find it a touch difficult, friends, because already good 18, 19 hours of session is done. I recommend highly that you guys please go back, watch all of those, and then try to, come sequentially and look at these sessions. At one go, you might find it very difficult. Yeah, that's the rush. Okay, anyways. So we have created this DFF now, and it has 3 columns, X1, X2, and X3, and it has 5 rows. 5 rows and 3 columns. Then if I were to run here, DFF1, which happens to be our data frame. Like a photo frame, you have data frame, and this is the data frame. Okay, that got created. Now, if you say, go to DFF dot X1, means go to this column called X1 and apply square root on that specific column. NumPy is another library which has numerical calculations, and square root kind of small operations exist in NumPy. So it will automatically calculate and give you the results. Square root of 1 is 1, square root of 2 is 1.4, square root of 3 happens to be 1.73, square root of 4 is 2, square root of 5 is 2.23, so on and so forth. Since you have these values in decimal format, it is saying that this X1 has data types which are of format float. You have float 32, float 64, depending on what kind of a computer you use. If you use a 32-bit computer, then processing will be slower. If you have 64-bit computer, processing will be faster. It depends on what kind of computer or laptop or server you have. All right. Then let me run DFF just to see what are the various columns and what do we have in this. Can I perform operations on multiple columns at one go? Can we do that? Really? Yes. You're saying that go to dff.location, and already we have had a good detailed discussion on what is the difference between location and index location. We had discussed that, and in place equal to true also we discussed yesterday. The one thing which I thought about explaining to you all, which I could not, is now which we have discussed yesterday. Why am I going blank on that? Axis equal to 0 and axis equal to 1, right? So in what scenarios would it take rows, and in what scenarios would it take columns? Let me make a note here. Okay, just to ensure that I do not forget that these are the things that we need to cover as part of our training. All right. Now here, when you have square brackets, you take rows and columns. When you use colon, that means you want all the rows to be used. And within the columns, you're saying, let me refer to columns x1 and x2. You have x1 and x2. And you're saying, take these two columns and apply a function. And we already discussed about lambda function, which is called as a nameless function, meaning if there are certain operations which you do not want it, if you do not want to reuse that at a later point of time, then we use this lambda function. Okay. And what are we doing here? We are saying x colon x plus 2. Sorry. So that means take each value, add 2 to it. That is exactly what we are saying here. So let me scroll down and let me show you the values here. What is it that we are trying to do? Let me run it and then show you the results. So it's going to x1, and you want to refer to all the rows. So you take x1, you take each and every value. For each and every value, you take that value and add 2 and assign it back. So you take a value, plus 1 is 3, you assign it back to 3 over there. Then you have 2. When you say 2 plus 2, it gives you 4, and that is what you see here. When you take 3, 3 plus 2 happens to be 5, and that is exactly what you see here. 4 plus 2 is 6, and 5 plus 2 happens to be 7. So x1 is processed. Now you go to x2. Okay, this specific column x2, and then take each value, add 2 to that, and you will then see the result, 12. Take 11, 11 plus 2 happens to be 13, then 12, 12 plus 2 is 14, 13 plus 2 is 15, 14 plus 2 happens to be 16. This is how you see all the values. Then applying changes accordingly to multiple columns. So we are going to DFF, which is a data frame. Okay. And then we are saying that, let me apply lambda function. Okay. And what should that do? It has to take each value of x1 and add it with the each element of x2. Related to axis, I'm going to talk about that later. In this context, axis equal to 1 would refer to each and every column. In this context, in certain contexts, axis equal to 1 would refer to rows. In certain other contexts, axis equal to 1 would refer to the columns. Or I should say that in majority of the cases, axis equal to 0 would refer to the rows, and axis equal to 1 would refer to the columns. In majority of the cases, that's how it works. So You say go to x1, take each value of x1, add it with each value of x2. So since you have here x1 and x2, you take each value of x1, add it with each value of x2. I mean, each corresponding value. So 1 plus 11 would be, 1 plus 10 would give you 11. And that is what we see here. Then take each value of x1, take each value of x2, add them up, and then store the result in x. So you have 2 plus 11, which is 13, and you see that. Then take each value of x1, take each value of x2, add them up, you get 15. Take each value of x1, take each value of x2, add them up, and then you get 17. Then each value of x1, each value of x2, add them up, and then you get 19. 5 plus 14 is actually 19. Okay, that's how it goes. Now, we need to talk about date and time. Most often than not, when you start dealing with date column, if a column is given along with date in some data set, a lot of people will assume that probably it is irrelevant for us, right? But using date and time, you can do a lot of feature engineering. And once you can perform feature engineering, there are a bunch of benefits that exist. For example, suppose you have a data set in which you are expected to analyze the data of vehicle breakdown. So let me write it, or let me say automobile breakdown. And say that happens to be your output variable. Usually output variables are represented using y. And the first vehicle, say it broke down. I will say B for breakdown and B for if the vehicle did not break down, right? No breakdown. So vehicle 2 did not break down. Vehicle 3 also did not break down. Vehicle 4 also did not break down. And then vehicle 5 broke down. In that way, say you have some historical data. And then you have inputs. When it comes to inputs, say you have date of manufacture, manufacturing date of the vehicle. And then you have another column, which is date of breakdown. On which day did the vehicle actually break down? Say you have this information available. So you have the manufacturing date and you also have the breakdown date. Say you have these two. Then when I subtract these two dates, you get to know how old the vehicle is, or you get to know the age of the vehicle. So if you take date of manufacture, date of breakdown, and if you happen to subtract these two, you get age of the vehicle. That is how old the vehicle is. Okay, this is what you get to see, or this is what you come to know. So when you subtract two dates, you get this. That's point number one. Point number two is it some kind of a season? It's something that you can understand based on the date. Based on the date, you can also understand whether it is summer season or winter season or rainy season. Are more vehicles getting broken down during summer season or during winter season or during rainy season? So you get a lot of insights the moment you look at the date. So date as a column has a lot of importance. And we need to do proper analysis to understand what information we want to gain from that. Say, for example, you have the sales information and you have the date. Every day, what is the sales that the specific company is doing? Using these dates, you might figure out probably that on weekdays, the sales are different versus on weekends, the sales are different. So you can extract the information based on the date on whether that specific date is a weekday or whether that specific date is a weekend. You get to extract that information. So when you have date and time, you can extract a lot of meaningful information from that. Okay, a lot of meaningful information. All right. There is a specific library called as date.time. Okay, and date.time is a separate package within library. You can import date from that. There are a bunch of things that you can import, and then you can start doing a lot of analysis on that. And here we are just issuing some function. Here we are saying that from this, try to extract the ISO format, International Organization for Standardization, right? ISO, you keep on hearing, right? ISO 20,000, ISO 27,001, ISO 9001, right? There are a bunch of things. ISO 14,001 for environment. There are a lot of standards as such. So anyways, so if you run that, it will say that it is in date format, wherein you have year, month, and date. And it will give you the results in this format. Year, complete year, month, using 2 numbers, date, also using 2 numbers. Yeah. Okay. Next. If you say bytes, I mean, why is it important? You'll understand in the subsequent lines of code. If you say bytes of 3, and if you assign it to bytes, your computer understands what? Bytes. Bit is the smallest amount of information. The smallest amount of information that your computer can consume is called as a bit. Byte. Okay. Now, you're saying this. And if you print out the results, it gives you these kind of results. Byte 3, right? So you see those 3 1 zeros, right? Typically. And then when you say print the type of that and show me what is the type of that, it says that, hey, this is a class byte. Let me run that and show it to you guys. Okay. So park it aside for now, and we will talk more. We can replace the dates. If you say date is in this format, right? Always you need to follow this specific format wherein you give year, month, and date. Then if you say, hey, I want to replace the day to 26. So what it does is it will go to this specific day or date, and then it's going to replace this day to 26, because that is what you want to do. You want to replace the day to 26. The existing day is 31, and that get replaced with 26. Anything that you write after hash, we already understood that it is a comment and it has no impact on the final output. When you see the output here, it has no impact on that whenever you put a hash. Instead of writing on a piece of book, you can actually make a comment here itself, and it start making sense. Okay. So you have date. This part we understood. So again, friends, you might argue with me that, hey, already you have imported here. Why is it that you're trying to import once again? Let me tell you that we need not do that. We need not time and again keep importing the same libraries and same modules and functions. However, the reason why I'm doing this is because, if you restart your kernel, there's something called as kernel in Python. When you tend to restart that, you have to import the libraries once again. Okay, that's the reason in the blocks we are mentioning it in this way, but then if you feel no, that's it. And then here you're saying date, you're giving the date, and you're saying, I want to have the ISO calendar format of it. Let me. And very interesting thing happens. You're taking a specific date, okay, and ISO calendar. And if I go to explain this, you will have to give me a minute because I have created another example just to explain you of this. Let me go to this document that I have in place and let me show you. There is a new example that I've created especially for you guys. Let me see if I can show this. And you'll have to allow me for a minute to show this. Sorry about that. I should pull that data into this computer. That's that specific example. Okay. I think that example I need to okay, friends. So what I'll do is for this, I need to obviously explain you more about ISO calendar. Anyways, I think today we will not be able to complete the entire session. So I'll park this, and in what context access equal to 0 means rows, and in what context it access equal to 0 will refer to column. It's something that I'm going to talk about. And ISO calendar is also something that I'm going to talk about, right? Once again, before I forget explaining these things to you all tomorrow, I will have to record it quickly. Okay. So let's move on and talk about a few other things, right? Meanwhile, once again, you need not always import your library and the module that you need within that. And then here I'm saying date of 2002, 12/4. If you want it to be represented in ISO format, you know for a fact that you'll have YYYY, and then you'll have month, and DD. This is a format in which the results will be shown. So 2002-12-04. That is what you see here. So run that and show it to you. Okay. Then we have a few other things, right? So you have a library in which you have date, time, and time delta. These are the two additional modules which exist. And if you say date time now, well, let me run that. It would say that today is 10th of August, 2022. And the time of the server, since we are using Google servers, wherever the server resides, there the time is 1:32 afternoon. Here in India, it's 7:03, but then this is the server time which is being taken. If you say that, I want to know 2 years from now, what would be the date? So even before that. So that is what you want. And you're storing the results of the current date and time in a variable or an object which is named in this way. Variable names or object names can be anything, absolutely anything of your choice, right? But give some meaningful names so that you don't get confused at a later point of time. Then when you say print, what this is doing is it is trying to print initial date, and you want a string of whatever is in that. I mean, whatever is in that in a string format. Okay, and you see that. Then you're saying, I want to take this, which is the date and time at this point of time, plus time delta. Time delta is a function which gives you options to be entered in this format. If you say days equal to 7:30, then approximately 2 years. 365, 365. And that's what is happening there. 7:30, if you were to add these. And you're saying print the future date. And whatever you give in your single quotes or double quotes within print, that would get printed as is. So if you say future date after 2 years, that information gets as is printed here. And then you're saying, whatever is that future date which got stored in this object, show me that in a string format. And that is what we are showing. And that is what is being shown. And then if you were to run this, import time from timestamp. Okay. Time. From this timestamp, you pick the time. Time would actually give you what is a year, what is a month, and what is the date. Today is 10th August 2022, and that is what is being showcased here. So this is yet another function. It's not always date time. You can also sometimes import. There's another library called as time. You might want to import that. And from time, you're trying to get time, right? That's how you write time from this. Take that. Okay. Now let's look at a few date formats. So you have various things. What we shall do is, we will go here, and if you find anything, we would again come back, we would scroll up, we will try to see what that exactly means. Okay. So let us understand what this Y means. It's anybody's guess that this is year, this is month, this is day, hour, minute, seconds, and then you want to represent that in float format. Okay, but then here it says it's the microsecond as a decimal, right? You can have that. Okay, so obviously microsecond will be in decimal format. This uppercase S, M, and H. Uppercase S is second. Then uppercase M is minute. Okay, it has zero padding. What does that mean? 1, 2, 3, 0 in that way, and then you'll have 10, 11. All these will be in 2 digits until 59 because you have 59 minutes. And then the next minute it becomes the next hour actually. So minute 60 won't come up. It will show as the next hour. Here, zero padding means you ensure that all of these are in 2 digits. So if I were to make this 2 digits, I add a 0. If I were to make 1, 2 digits, 2, etc., you just add zeros, and then you'll have the details in 2 digits. So you have percentage H also, percentage D, percentage M, and percentage Y. It's day of the month, again, zero padded. If you don't want the zero padding, you just put a hyphen before that. And then you have M and Y. If you have in uppercase Y, that means year with century as a decimal number. It gives the entire thing, right? And then M would give again zero padded month. But then if you use a lowercase, then it will say 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. I mean, all those years would appear in that way. Anyways, that's how it appears, but this makes more sense. So all these abbreviations and what do they mean is already given there. You can always refer to that, and then you can, analyze what's happening within your data. So let me first run this and try to help you understand on what is happening here. We are taking this information and we are storing it in an object, which is data time string, and then you're going to date time dot strip the time. Which time do you want to strip? This, which is this information typically, and then from that you want to take all of these out. So when you say print the date, whatever you have in single quotes or double quotes, as I've told you, as is get printed. So you have date colon, you're saying date time object dot date would take the date portion of it and display the results. Okay. You're saying that this is a format in which the data is given, so it knows how to pick that. Then you're saying print time colon, and you're saying go to this, say dot time. Since you have already given this strip time, this entire thing would be already splitted. Already that, stripping has already happened, and it will strip and say that, hey, this is your date, and this happens to be your time. It will already strip. Okay, you're saying strip that in this format: year, month, date, then hour, minute, seconds, and then you have microseconds. If you see F here, it is microsecond. Then what you're doing is you're just trying to print out the date separately from this. You're trying to print out time separately from this. And then you're also trying to print date time. You're printing from this. What are you trying to print? Date and time. I mean, the entire thing basically you're trying to print out. Now, if you say, all right, this is fine, but then I would rather give it in this way, 2018, Jan 29, and you have your hour, minute, and seconds. That is exactly what we're giving here. Okay. And then when you use this date time library, module, same date time module, and if you want to strip the time from this, if you want to strip the time, what it does is it's going to split this as again date, and this as time. And if you want to use these functions, sure, go ahead and do so. Right? So let us not get rid of these. Let me also print these. But there is one thin line of difference between this and this. This anyways, the microseconds, you do not want those, for instance, maybe. And here you're giving B instead of M. Right? So if I were to show you what that B means, it is abbreviated month name. And that is what is given, right? Abbreviated month. We are showing that as Jan. Now, if I were to run it, it says that, hey, you asked me to strip this as date and as month. And then these results are being shown here. But the one difference here is, I mean, everything is printed as is, but the only difference is instead of showing that it is JAN, it's showing 01 because that's the first month. So it understands that you're abbreviating this month. Now let's play around by making certain changes. What if I continue to give M, and what is M here? M means the month which is 0 padded. If you give that, what happens? Does it throw error? Yes, it says, hey, I didn't recognize this. Okay, you better change it back. And one more thing that we need to talk about is, what if I put 01 here? Then if I were to run, would it still throw an error? Absolutely. So you need to first look at your date and time column, understand what is the format it is given, it is mentioned in. And you need to provide a similar kind of format here as well. Okay, that is the important part that you need to bear in mind. And what if I give these decimals? Microseconds, these microseconds that exist, what I give that. And what if I run this? It says, no, you didn't mention that. You also have microseconds, you didn't mention that. Hence, I'm going to throw error. So intelligence lies in we as humans, as data analysts or data scientists or Python programmers, understand what is the format in which data is given, and we need to ensure that that is a format you mentioned here as well within stripping the time. All right, next. So go to run it. Here, what you're trying to do is 2018. Okay. If you want to print it as is, okay, you just give this particular function with a slight change. Instead of p here, use f. Okay. What is the difference between these two? We will understand it. Now, this stands for the year. This stands for the month, which is abbreviated, and D is for the date, rather. Now, if you're trying to use these, what happens? Let's understand. This A, it would give you information about, where is that? Abbreviated weekday name. So what is this 28th? 28th, sorry, 29th rather, is a Monday. 29th Jan 2018 is a Monday. You can just go to the calendar and figure out. And you're saying B is nothing but the abbreviated format of the month. And year is 18. You're not getting entire 2018 because it is lowercase y. Uppercase y would give you the entire year. Lowercase y would only tell that it's 18. Means you need to understand that it's 2018. Then here you're saying from this date time object, okay, which contains this entire stuff out there. You're saying I want A, B, Y. A means abbreviated day. B is the abbreviated month. Y in lowercase would give you only that 18, the last two. Then you're saying I, M, S, and P. What does this I mean? What does M mean? What does S mean, right? I would give you hours in 12-hour clock. 12-hour clock it would give you, not 24 hours. After 12, again, it's 1, 2, 3 in that. Then N would give you the 0 padded decimal of minute, basically. Here. And S would give you seconds as 0 padded decimal number. And then you have P. P will give you details on whether that is AM or PM. After meridian, post meridian, right? So AM or PM, that is the information that you get additional. So that's what is printed here. AM. Hour in 12-hour format, minutes, 0 padded, and seconds, 0 padded. I've already told you what 0 padding means. Okay, next. You take this datetime object, you say strf time. You're saying I want to print it in this way. Date is %d and time is %t. So what do you mean by, this modulus D and modulus T or percentage? However, both mean the same. So where is the date here? I think these things are not given. Okay, do you see it somewhere? The abbreviation is not given, but it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, these things are not given. That's fine, absolutely fine. So you want the date in this format. This would give you the format in this way. It will tell you what is the month, what is the date, and what is the year. If you want the data in this format, then you use percentage %d. And when you say percentage %d, it will just take the complete time and then it's going to display out to you. Then, if you want this specific date and time to be printed in this format, wherein you have modulus A, modulus B, and modulus Y, then what should we do? Okay. This gives the full weekday name. This gives the full weekday name. Full weekday name. And that is what is printed here. And this would give you the full month name. And this would give you the year. The full year, typically, not the abbreviated year. If you use lowercase y, then it would give you the abbreviated number, but this doesn't give you the abbreviated number. It gives you the full number, typically. Then we have a few, date and time manipulation functions within pandas. Okay, we are do this. Something. Let me do one thing. Let me run it and store this function. Okay. What we are actually trying to do here is we are importing two functions, two libraries rather, random date and time. From that, you're importing a module called as random range, and we are importing another module called time delta. And here we are defining random date. Now you can give any name. This is a user-defined function. This block is user-defined function. The start and end, and whatever you put in these quotes, it would appear as is generating random number. You're saying you want to first subtract end from start, and you want to store it in delta. You're just subtracting two numbers, and you're calling it as delta. Then you're saying delta dot days. If you multiply days with 24, in a day you have 24 hours. Within an hour you have 16 minutes. Within each minute you have 60 seconds. And then you are saying add delta seconds to that. You're converting days into seconds. And within this delta, if you have any seconds, add them also. And then you're saying random range. Okay, I want to randomly create a range of values from the initial delta. You just from this value, whatever you get here, and you're putting that into random seconds. And then you're saying return the starting value plus the time delta of seconds, and the seconds are nothing but random seconds. So when we run this, right, we will understand what each step does, and then we will solve this. Okay. First of all, let me run this. What we are doing here is you are trying to come up with date time, strp time. Okay. You're getting 1/1/1998, 1:30 p.m. and that's in the format month, date, full year. This is the month and date, and then you're saying I, M, and P. I is the time in 12-hour clock, 12-hour, right? 12, that means after 12 it is 13, but it's 1 p.m. It's called as 13 also. 2 p.m. is also called as 14. So if you just want 1 p.m., 2 p.m., etc., you need to use this. M is minutes, and P is whether it is AM or PM. And you're assigning it to an object called D1. And then you're doing a similar thing, date and time format, and then you're assigning it to D2. And if you say, go to the random date between D1 and D2, what is it doing? Between these two dates and time, it's going to pick up one date and time randomly and then show it to you. That's what random date does. That means you're randomly trying to do that. In random date, what are you doing? You're taking a start and an end. You're saying this is the start, D1, which is 1st Jan 1998. This is the start. And then you're saying this is the end within D2. Okay, start and end. Then what happens is you subtract these two, you get a delta. When you subtract these two dates, you understand how many dates, how many days, how many seconds exist. Then when you say delta dot days, you get the difference in days, right? You convert that into seconds by saying that each day contains 24 hours, each hour contains 60 minutes, each minute contains 60 seconds, and add the seconds if you have. So first, subtract this two, you get the days, that's delta days, and then you subtract the seconds separately within this. Then you convert these days into seconds, because this is also going to be in seconds, and adding them would become easier. And then what are you saying? You're saying that whatever seconds you get, right, randomly create a range of values, and then store it in random seconds. Now take the start value, which is this. Is the start. Take the start value and add the random seconds that you have taken. Okay. I mean, from here, you're getting the random seconds. You add that to this and then display the results. We are just trying out some operations just to help you all understand what kind of operations can be performed. So what I shall do is I'll stop here, and tomorrow certainly we will connect, and tomorrow will be the last day, by the way. Whatever pending things I have, not discussed, and wherever we wanted more clarity, I told that there are certain examples that I've thought through to explain you all, right? I'm going to explain about those tomorrow. Hope you all have enjoyed the session. And since this is the advanced session, if you're watching this session directly, yes, certainly you'll find it a touch difficult to understand. So I recommend you to go through right from day one. day 1 until day 20. And of course, tomorrow will be an additional session to cover the remaining portion. Right? Thank you all so much once again for your patience, and we'll connect tomorrow and take it forward. Thank you all. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel.